I'm Meeting House Alliston, and thanks for joining me on my walk for this week's update video. Here are 3 things that I want to highlight for you. Let's jump in. Number 1, your generosity. Thank you so much for continuing to give so faithfully and abundantly during this time. It's true that this season, it's difficult to give. It's difficult to give because there's a lot of things on our mind. There's a lot of things on our plate. We're wondering about financial security. But another one of those pieces is that we aren't seeing the type of effects as we have typically. We're not seeing the kids filled with joy after their Kid Max program. We're not seeing the people coming out to church and experiencing the message of Jesus. We're not seeing the people who are taking significant steps in their spiritual journey. We're not seeing these things, and yet you continue to give because you believe in the mission of the church. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your generosity. Number 2, Jesus people. Every single update video, I want to take an opportunity to highlight people who are extending the love and peace of Christ to their neighbors and their family and their friends. And for this week, I'm going to highlight people who are being specifically pushed outside of their comfort zone. Parents. Yes, parents. Parents are being forced to spend all of the time with their kids and figure out how to homeschool and help them through their studies. It's intense. And I want you to know, if you're a parent watching this, that what you're doing is incredible. Thank you for caring for your family and for your kids. Thank you for investing in your children's lives. You're not doing anything less than what other people are doing as they are extending the peace of Christ. You are doing something so meaningful, and I hope that you believe it. Number 3, Matthew chapter 27. This past home church, I was asked a question about Matthew 27 because within it, we not only see the narrative surrounding Jesus' death, but we also see this pretty wacky story where a bunch of holy people raise from the dead and start walking around town. And the question it was, A, why do none of the other gospel writers talk about this if clearly this is a pretty mind-blowing experience? And B, why is there no other extra biblical evidence? So again, you would think that a Greek or a Roman would probably record that there's a bunch of dead Jewish people walking around town, but yet that isn't the case. So I wanted to give you a particular take on answering this question because I think it's really encouraging. And where to begin is to start with the understanding of the Messiah. So the Messiah was this figure within the Jewish worldview who was called the Anointed One. So Messiah means anointed one or chosen one. And then the question is, what are they anointed for? What are they chosen for? Well, specifically, the Messiah was anointed or chosen for the purpose of confronting evil, of putting evil to rest, and specifically conquering evil's most powerful weapon, death. And because the Messiah's purpose was to conquer evil, to confront evil, and then put to rest death, one of the signs the Messiah had come would be resurrection, would be this experience that all of those who had followed God before they died would now be raised to life because death is defeated. For Matthew, Jesus is this Messiah who confronts death, who beats evil. And so what he wants to do is he wants to communicate to his Jewish audience that Jesus is the Messiah. And so he reaches into his back pocket for the ultimate literary device to communicate how significant Jesus' death and then resurrection will be. It's called apocalyptic literature. It's not something that we see in modern literature, so it's a little bit weird for us as modern readers to grasp it. But what it is it's this incredible, beautiful imagery and metaphor that's supposed to help us realize how significant something is. I'll give you a modern day example that doesn't even come close to the type of powerful imagery that's used with apocalyptic literature. But let's say I said that during COVID-19, the earth stood still. Obviously, you know that the earth literally didn't stand still. But yet, as I'm walking around right now, there are so few people out. There's no cars on the road. The businesses are almost all closed, and we realize that something really significant has happened. And so Matthew, he pulls out this literary device called apocalyptic literature, and he says, as soon as Jesus died, confronting death, we see a bunch of people raised from the dead and start walking around town. It is supposed to jog the memory of Jewish people to say, oh yeah, when the Messiah comes, death is going to be defeated. So in Jesus, death is defeated. It's not about whether or not this happened or not. You can decide that on your own. But what is so true is the fact that it doesn't need to be true for Matthew, because he is trying to communicate to his audience that in the death and resurrection of Jesus, that Jesus confronts the power of evil, that he is the one that defeats death, and ultimately he is ushering in God's kingdom to bring healing and wholeness to the world. And that is something that we need now, to realize that though we are experiencing a weird way of life, and we need to draw strength from something outside of ourselves, let's draw strength from the one who has the ability to conquer death. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me on my walk. Next week, there will be no update video, and the reason being is I'm taking some time off just to get some rest and to recover from the crazy couple of months that it's been. So I really hope that you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.